In 2023, we got to see the movie Air, the exciting and inspirational story behind the creation of a shoe. In the same year, we also got the movie Flamin Hot, the incredible and inspirational story behind the creation of a Cheeto. We also got Tetris and the movie BlackBerry. A few years before that, we got the movie The Founder, starring Michael Keaton. And a few weeks ago, goddamn Jerry Seinfeld made a movie about Poptarts, for Christ's sake. What is going on? In this past year and a bit, there's been an incredible boom in brand biopics. They're coming out more than superhero movies at this point. Obviously, brand biopics have always existed. The Social Network, for example, comes to mind. But like 5 of these in a year and a half? That's crazy. I aim to find a few things today. A, why are there so many of these movies? Why do people like them? B, are these ads? Do these movies sometimes lie about what happened? And the most important question, why did he make a movie about Pop-Tarts? Why did he make a movie about Pop-Tarts? What the hell's going on? It was important for me to include the founder in this because, appropriately enough, it is sort of the founder of this genre. And I mean that in a similar way to how Ray Kroc, the protagonist of this movie, is sort of the founder of McDonald's. This movie definitely popularized brand biopics. I gotta admit, I was a bit worried before the first time that I watched it. I didn't want to just sit there and just consume an ad for McDonald's. And man, at the beginning of this movie, this is definitely what this felt like. There's this really funny scene of like a bunch of families sitting together and they're all eating McDonald's and everyone's like, oh, this is the best. I'm having so much fun eating this burger, and everyone looks like they're in heaven. But apparently, McDonald's didn't even spend a dime on this thing. And this fact gets a lot less shocking when you get into the thick of this movie. The McDonald's story, as told in The Founder, is about two brothers, who for years after years have supported each other in this or that business endeavor. They've experienced failure after failure. They've gone through the Great Depression even. They were so sad until they come up with this incredible revolutionary system that includes a customized kitchen, all so they can bring people food in like 30 seconds. Incredible. The story of The Founder is not about these two people, but about the guy who decided to them over. Everyone was talking about how much they loved their burgers.
This might be the best hamburger I've ever had in my life.
And this dickhead milkshake machine salesman came over and stole that all away. Or not all of it. The actual story is a bit more complicated than that. We get to follow around in this story a man who resents every single person who's not a cheerleader of his. His wife tells him, hey, maybe we should like go on walks together and like go to restaurants and maybe like not chase or talk about business all the time. And he's like, stop chasing business. You, I'm gonna go and flirt with one of my franchisees' wife right in front of her husband. Why not? I founded McDonald's after all. I did that. That's what I tell everyone that I did. Michael Keaton's portrayal of Ray Kroc is really interesting. He's the former CEO of McDonald's, the man responsible for turning a successful yet small chain of restaurants into the empire that we know today. Ray is a bitter man. His main motivation in this is just to stick it to the people who ridiculed him for his semi-successful, semi-failed past as a door-to-door salesman. He is a fascinating, sick representation of the American dream. His bad qualities are not really a situation of character development that he has, but it more feels like something that has always kind of laid inside of him. A quality that he always has, but slowly gets revealed to us as Ray's success enables that. The movie starts with Ray listening to what could only be described as a 1950s version of a Sigma Male podcast.
You don't have to be defeated by anything. That you can have peace of mind, improved health, and a never-ceasing flow.
The next time we hear this speech is from the mouth of Ray himself, as he does what he does best, takes credit for everything. When looking at this movie, we can get a pretty good blueprint for the biopic genre, all of its main elements. We get a down-on-his-luck person, lots of financial problems, usually mounting up. Second thing is that the wife/partner needs to either believe in this person or not. Both are a good driving force for this sort of story. Third thing is the eureka moment. You know, we get to see the moment that changed everything in this person's mind. The moment where the idea came in. This has a few of those. There's a scene where Michael Keaton is flabbergasted by food arriving fast.
Here you are. What's this? Your food. No. I just ordered.
A second Eureka moment is with where BJ Novak, aka Ryan from The Office, tells him about how he should like over the McDonald's twins.
Control over Dick and Mac.
By owning like the actual real estate of the like franchisees. That's like a big moment for him. I can actually screw all these people over and have that as the precedent for every big franchise. I should do that. These scenes are some of the most satisfying in a brand biopic. We can see a character laying in bed. He got a late night's sleep, so he wants to wake up later, but Jesus Christ, the lights keep protruding in. And he tosses and turns until he finds out about Manta Sleep. This is based on a true story. I'm a horrible sleeper, but I've been using Manta Sleep over the past 2 months every night, and I've been sleeping significantly better. It's incredible how comfortable their masks are. They use material that has this incredible premium feel, which really matters when it comes to something that's like going on your face as you're trying to sleep. You want that to feel nice, presumably. I'm a big fan of their pro nap movement. I've only been able to join it after using their masks. The masks are easily adjustable. I usually can never nap, but now I'm napping on a plane, I'm napping on buses, I'm napping on trains, going all across the world as I'm leading a double life as pop singer Hannah Montana. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it too much. Check out Manta Sleep and use code PINELY for 10% off your order. Another common trait in a brand biopic is lots and lots of speeches.
Do it for your country.
What?
If you boys don't want to franchise for yourselves, that's fine. Do it for America.
The McDonald's brothers are hesitant to work with Ray Kroc, and he gets into them by saying that they should do it for America. My all-time favorite biopic trope, though, is when they say a sentence that makes you, as a viewer, be like, whoa, that's crazy that they said that in retrospect.
Because I have no interest in indulging in that sort of crass commercialism. It's not McDonald's.
Commercialism? That's not what McDonald's is about. An incredible line. If I would have written that, I would have like giggled to myself as I'm writing it. Love that to bits. As we reach the end of the movie, we finally get a very good picture of who Ray Kroc really is. We get this scene of him flirting with that woman over inspirational business quotes.
People are afraid of taking a chance to, reach for greatness, ambition. That's the stuff of life.
He also, as he's about to finally and fully crush the McDonald's brothers, says a line so out of pocket.
If my competitor were drowning, I'd walk over and I'd put a hose right in his mouth.
A sentence so horrible that it literally made the person on the other side of the phone get a goddamn heart attack. Michael Keaton's ability to still make me sort of root for this character after all of these things is a very big success. This guy remortgaged his and his wife's home to pay for the expansion of McDonald's without telling her, of course. She gets rightly pissed off about it, but he sees that as her like not believing in him, and then he later on gets a divorce with her, and then he says how he wants to her over and not give her any share of McDonald's.
I would sooner die than give her 1 share of stock in McDonald's.
She's a housewife in the goddamn 50s or 60s at that point. You've spent all these years with her and you're not leaving her with anything. When the film ends, Ray gets everything he wanted. Respect, money, that guy's wife. And even though we know how horrible he is, we know that this is something that he accomplished by crushing people, by leaving them to rot on the side of the road. There's still something oddly satisfying about seeing him win, which makes you wonder as a viewer, how much of this quality do I have? Am I also this sick? Also, this is one of my favorite sentences in any movie ever.
Oh, that's some pure dick magic right there.
I like this a lot. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Flamin Hot, the movie about the Cheeto flavor, is the only one out of the movies that we're going to talk about today that has an Oscar nomination. So let's have it here for Flamin Hot. Listen, it's not a terrible movie. but it's also not great. And that's all it takes. Sometimes that's all it takes for you to see right through what's going on, like you're Neo in the Matrix when he's looking at a bunch of letters and stuff and numbers. It's mainly numbers that he's looking at. You know the tropes I mentioned earlier when it came to the movie The Founder? They're obviously like, they're a part of what goes on in the movie, but they are not, and that should never be the case. They are not the whole of the movie. Most of the dialogue in this film is delivered as an inspirational speech. There's this inspirational bit where it's like this guy's partner and a judge, and it's cut together and it feels really stupid.
You're not worthless, Richard.
You're not stupid. You've got a brain between those ears.
Because it happens like right at the beginning of the movie, so we have like no like context for this, and why are they saying this to this guy? Our main protagonist in this, Richard, gets called out for lying about having a high school diploma, and his way of getting out of that situation is an inspirational speech.
Look, maybe I don't got no diploma, but I got a PhD. I'm poor, hungry, and determined, sir.
I got a PhD, a pretty huge diploma. There's this inspirational speech as well.
That they've been begging for help, and they got a broke Mexican kid from Huasti as their hero.
It's the whole movie. I could spend a whole day showing you inspirational speeches from the movie Flamin Hot about the Cheetos. I don't necessarily think that a movie should 100% of the time be a super accurate depiction of reality, but come on, no one speaks like that. This story here is about real-life person Richard Montañez, played by Jesse Garcia, a drug dealer turned janitor turned Frito-Lay's executive, after he allegedly, according to this movie, created the flaming hot flavor that we all love and eat all the time today. An idea that he allegedly came up with out of a deep affection to his Mexican heritage. Don't worry, I'll explain why I've said allegedly so much later on. And the story is inspirational. It's a pretty fun movie. You know, on the surface, when you ignore the connection that this may or may not have to reality. In this movie, we see this guy who got bullied as a kid for his background and where he came from. And we later on see him use those very aspects of his life to completely win. And I don't personally feel like I need a speech every 3 seconds to make me realize that this is a good story. It could be laid out on its own. Richard Montañez comes off as a pretty likable guy. I like how much he wants to learn things. When he finally gets the janitor job that he wanted, he's like scrubbing away, he's loving it. He's loving the new life that he has as a janitor. In this movie, Richard's wife does like him, which is cool. I guess it's because he didn't remortgage the house without telling her. Probably part of why she's rooting for him. I tried to look this up. I didn't find any information entailing that Frito-Lay's or Pepsi paid for this movie. I assume not, because the way that this company is portrayed here is hilarious. It's like the Frito-Lay's employees, the higher level guys, they're like bullies to like the janitors and stuff. And it's like, I don't think Frito-Lay's would pay for that to be their depiction personally.
Montañez! Missed the spot.
This movie also has a eureka moment when Richard sees a bunch of people eating spicy food. He's like, oh, I could turn this into flaming hot Cheetos. Like this, that's a thing that I definitely did. His big break is when he decides to call the president of the company and give him the 50th inspirational speech in the movie. He calls the CEO of Pepsi, just the whole Pepsi, the big company. And he's like, you gotta hear about this. What if we made Cheetos spicy? Let that sink in for a moment. Have a think about that. It's a free one for you. There's one really funny quote in this movie where Richard says, I'll stick with Frito-Lay's, where I have a future.
I think I'll stick with Frito-Lay, where I have a real future.
And it's moments like these where like, I'm not sure if this is an ad, because he's probably the only janitor in that company. He's the only one where that sentence was like really relevant towards, right? Like not a lot of people move from janitor to executive. The stakes in this movie keep being raised into like weird places. After the president of Pepsi decides to come over to talk to Richard. Richard is like being told that because of the fact that the CEO is coming over and because the CEO is excited about something that he did, that essentially puts the factory at risk. Like they're saying that if he doesn't like the Cheeto, then they're gonna shut down this factory with like hundreds of people. What? They're not gonna do that. I feel like that's just done because those are usually the stakes in one of those films, right? These people usually do what they do at the risk of everyone around them. The decision to push yourself to success is often also done at the risk of others. But here, I don't see why would everyone else get fired if he didn't like the flavor of the Cheeto. Anyways, that as a whole got me thinking about the believability of this story. So as I was watching the movie, and I don't usually like to be on my phone when watching a movie, but I looked stuff up. I looked up things about this story because biopics shape history in a way. With a lot of people, this movie that they're gonna watch is going to be the main representation for them on how these events went. And so when we slap that based on a true story tagline, there's some importance to that. There's some weight. A weight that, admittedly, I care about a lot less when the movie's really good. Like, I know that The Social Network has a bunch of, like, historical inaccuracies, but also, it's The Social Network. It's one of my favorite movies. So, you know, creative vision and all that. Change history if you want. With this movie, though, this is an article by the LA Times titled, "The Man Who Didn't Invent Flaming Hot Cheetos." This is an expose that the LA Times released. A flaming hot expose, if you will. For the last decade, Richard Montañez has been telling the story of how he invented flaming hot Cheetos. The world has been eating it up. Snack pun. Montañez has built a lucrative second career out of telling and selling this story, appearing at events for Target, Walmart, Harvard, and USC, among others, and commanding fees of $10,000 to $50,000 per appearance. They mention his second memoir, Flaming Hot, the incredible true story of one man's rise from janitor to top executive, which is what this movie was based on, which was sold after intense bidding wars. But there's just one problem. Montañez didn't invent Flaming Hot Cheetos, according to interviews with more than a dozen former Frito-Lay employees. And Frito-Lay's itself, which is how I know that they probably didn't sponsor this. They said that a bunch of stuff in this is not true. None of our records show that Richard was involved in any capacity in the Flaming Hot test market. Any capacity at all. This is a response from Frito-Lay to the LA Times. We have interviewed multiple personnel who were involved in the test market, and all of them indicate that Richard was not involved in any capacity. That doesn't mean we don't celebrate Richard, but the facts do not support the urban legend. Flaming Hots were created by a team of hotshot snack food professionals starting in 1989. The new product was designed to compete with spicy snacks sold in the inner city mini marts of the Midwest, and this movie addresses that.
Apparently, in the Midwest, they had already been spicing things up for a while, except their ingredients came in test tubes and syringes.
They're doing it with chemicals in a lab. We're doing it the good old-fashioned way.
I don't know what's going down over there. All I knew was our ingredients came from the ground.
You know, Flaming Hot Cheetos, this organic product that we all consume. The article mentions a woman called Lynn Greenfield who got the assignment to develop the brand, and she even came up with the name Flaming Hot. And it says here that he only started taking public credit for inventing Flaming Hots in the late 2000s, almost 20 years after they were invented. Nobody at Frito-Lay stopped him. Most of the original team had retired by the 2000s, but the few had remained, let the story spread unchecked. It's a very long expose. I really recommend reading it. It's fascinating. But it essentially means that so much of this movie is just a lie. So yeah, it's an enjoyable time, but all in all, I'd usually rather just watch other movies. I'm gonna give it a 5.5 out of 10. I've gotten to see a lot of movies with my dad throughout the years. His reaction to most of them has been falling asleep in his chair, but goddamn, with Air, my dad was loving this movie. I cannot even describe to you how much of a dad movie Air is. Which makes sense. This is a movie about an era that my dad grew up in. At the beginning of this, we get this like montage of like America in the 80s. It's a business biopic. Dads love those. It's a very dad-oriented genre. It was made by Ben Affleck, who's about the same age as my dad. And you can really see the care for that era being put into this movie. This film is about the Air Jordan shoe, how Nike essentially got that deal with an up-and-coming basketball player, little known guy known as Michael Jordan. And let me tell you, I enjoyed that movie a lot as well. This movie puts a big emphasis on a common trait in brand biopics, and that's the fact that the protagonist of these films is often not only gambling on his future, but everyone around him. Sonny, the Nike employee who ended up securing the deal. Spoiler alert, Air Jordans exist. He loves gambling. We see him gambling away. He just loves it so much. And we see how this love for gambling is not just something that he enjoys doing in his pastime, but sort of a driving force in his life.
I'm willing to bet my career on Michael Jordan.
Jason Bateman tells him, hey man, your habit of like taking risks all the time, it's like pretty cool and all, but like I got kids, and like you're putting the entire basketball division of Nike in danger. And Sonny's like, oh yeah, sorry. Oh yeah, that's a good point that you made. Sonny's backed into a corner. Basketball is cool now, but not as cool as it's gonna get. And Nike in this area is falling behind brands like Adidas and Converse. Michael Jordan's like, I don't wanna be caught dead. I don't want to be caught dead wearing this Nike shoe. There's a lot of like, Nike? Basketball? I don't ever see that happening. There's a lot of that, you know, that lines that seem silly in retrospect. Big biopic trope. There's a lot of like, this Michael Jordan guy, he's pretty good, but I don't see him turning into a cultural icon. That's just me, I guess. This movie is really funny. I really like the characters. It's just like a bunch of dudes. Quite Oppenheimer feeling, but you know, it's more of a feel-good movie. The scene where Nike meets Michael Jordan has this like really good awkwardness to it.
Bill, I was just explaining to Michael that we're going to.
I was explaining for a second that I'm the CEO of this company, and it's worth nearly $1 billion now.
I love how seriously shoes are taken in this. There's a character in this that's a shoe guru.
Do you men think about basketball shoes often?
I mostly more marketing about basketball.
Basketball shoes are the central preoccupation of my life.
What a great guy. Love him. Love his portrayal.
It's the logic of water. It's natural. Like the shoe was always here.
I really enjoyed the way that Michael Jordan is portrayed in this. We never see his face at any point of at any scene. The fact that he's like present there, he's being talked about, but you never see him, gives him this vibe of like almost a god in a way. It's a very fascinating decision. It's almost like the people making this movie are saying, well, we can't replicate him. Viola Davis as Michael Jordan's mom is incredible. This sort of confidence that she emits in every scene. I mean, that's just Viola Davis for you. What an incredible actress. The scene of Matt Damon talking with her feels like something out of an X-Men movie almost.
I believe he's different. And I believe you might be the only person on Earth who knows it.
The main criticism that I'll have against it is that often it is edited a bit weirdly, like some scenes end a lot later than where they should.
Where is he?
He didn't come in.
Is he sick?
I'm not actually his secretary. He doesn't have a secretary.
Where is he?
And all in all, I feel like the movie could have ended earlier. Matt Damon is giving this incredible speech, the speech to end all biopic speeches.
You were cut from your high school basketball team. You willed your way to the NBA. You're gonna win championships.
He's like, one day you're gonna become the biggest guy in the world, and you'll have situations where you cheat on your wife, but then you'll end up playing basketball and everyone will adore you. He said it a bit better than how I said it, I gotta admit. And like, I think it would have been great if that's where the movie ended. That would have been great. But then it goes on for like 30 more minutes, which is like, kind of ruins the momentum of a scene like that. The bit in the credits where they show like what happened after the plot of the movie, love that as always. I don't think I'll ever get tired of that. Look at how much money everyone made. Look at that. Look at everyone made all this money. That's cool to see. I'll give this movie a 7.6 out of 10.
I'm from Waterloo, where the vampires hang out!
This is the clip that got me to watch BlackBerry about a year ago for the first time. I loved this movie so much. It rocks. What makes the movie BlackBerry so special? Well, first of all, the premise for this sort of story is inherently different. In The Founder, Air, and that Cheetos movie, we get to see a business success story, right? All of these people made a lot of money afterwards. Not to say that the real life people that BlackBerry is based on didn't make money, they're all very, very rich. But with this movie, instead of having that voice in the back of our head that's like, oh well, you know, they're having all these problems at Nike, but everything is gonna sort itself out. Don't worry about that. Instead, in this movie, when we see our characters succeed, we have the opposite voice in the back of our head, telling us no one has seen a BlackBerry in a decade. Have you seen a BlackBerry? I have this calculator over here. That kind of looks like a BlackBerry, but it's not. It's just a calculator. We got three main guys in this story. We got Mike and Doug, the best friends ever. They're both like co-founders of BlackBerry. Had a different name at the beginning of the movie that's shit, but I forgot what it is, so let's just say BlackBerry. And if anyone corrects me in the comments, I'll scream at them in my head. BlackBerry, or whatever it was called before that, is portrayed as almost like a nerd paradise. They do these like movie nights every night. Everyone plays video games with each other all the time. Genuinely seems like a really nice place to work at. And then Jim comes in and he's like, hey, you pack of f***ing nerds. I'm the business guy that comes in with a lot of money, and I'm gonna f***ing tell you what's up, and I'm gonna f***ing kill you.
Hey! Get off the f***ing internet!
The dynamics in this movie and the way that they shift and change are part of what makes this so captivating. At the beginning of it, that dynamic is that, you know, Jim is coming in, super aggressive guy, knows about money and all that, and he's rich. He keeps trying to push Mike around, but Doug won't have it because he's his best friend.
Mike does not agree with this.
He just f***ing did! That was to us!
This film is also incredibly funny. The amount of memorable lines in this, oh my god.
Never take the drinks. Thirst is a display of weakness.
All of the actors in this are comedic actors, and they got them to play an inherent dramatic role. And they play those roles incredibly seriously, but obviously they know what makes a funny line work. It will be a travesty not to mention Glenn Howerton, best known as Dennis Reynolds in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and his portrayal as Jim Ball Silly. I don't think Ball Silly is actually his name. I think that was a joke in the movie. Balsil, maybe? That sounds like a name. His performance as Jim Silly Balls, oh my god, it's so captivating. The fury that this man can conjure. My god, every facial expression from him is so fun to look at. I love him shouting, he does that a lot.
Get these f***ing nerds to drop everything and build this f***ing phone! What?
This movie does not play out by any extent in how I would have predicted it to be. The way that you expect it to go, I guess similarly to The Founder, when the big tough businessman joins the people that are like love what they do, you expect him to be the catalyst for everything that goes wrong. But not really. From the get-go, Jim realizes that Mike also has a lot of power in a room. Jim goes into a meeting and he does this like Wolf of Wall Street-esque speech. He says the word fuck all the time, the word frick. Falls completely flat because the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And like you need someone who knows something about tech when you're talking about tech in a meeting.
You are not a tech guy, are you?
But then Mike goes in late and he completely kills the room. He's like a rock star talking about minutes, phone minutes and all that. That makes Jim respect him. It's not just him pushing him around. It makes us understand that Mike did have a lot of power in this relationship and steering this ship, and he had every ability to prevent the collapse of this company. This scene of Steve Jobs introducing the iPhone feels almost like a moment of reckoning for him.
E62, the usual suspects. They all have these keyboards that are there whether you need them or not to be there.
The presentation ends and Jim starts talking about adding a trackpad to the BlackBerry. Wake up! Wake up, there's an iPhone.
Screen?
keyboard, phone. Screen, keyboard, phone. Screen, keyboard, phone.
Go watch it. I know I said some of the things that happened, but there is still so much to enjoy from it. I guess I'd give it like an 8.7 maybe? Come on, let's give it a 9. Let's give it a 9. 9 for the BlackBerry. Hello, Mr. Pope. Oh yes, I did find a prop that would have been really useful for my last segment. Yes, it is a bit too late for me to use it now. Okay, so I didn't watch the Tetris movie. Correction, I did watch the beginning of the Tetris movie, but I just felt like it's a bit too similar to the other ones. I felt like I won't have that much more to say about it. Not saying that it's bad, but just not very great for this video. Instead, I decided to watch the brand biopic that came out after that, which is
baking pies for her family, found she had some extra crust and filling.
Bunch of baloney.
How do you know?
Because I write what's on those boxes.
What a deranged little movie, Jesus Christ. When promoting this, Jerry Seinfeld said that they really wanted this to be the opposite of Barbie, which I guess I can see that because Barbie is like a coherent movie. This is the opposite of Barbie in the sense of that the characters in Barbie have charisma when they talk and they deliver their lines in an interesting way.
You don't really think you're actually going to the moon, do you? Really? Going to the moon?
Jerry's line deliveries in this movie are so weird. Do you really think we're going to the moon? Really? The moon? I don't get it. Why is he saying it like that? Why is he saying every line like that? Is that supposed to indicate a joke? Perhaps? So this is Jerry Seinfeld's big return to the director's seat after making his masterpiece, the B Movie. This is one of the most famous and successful people on the planet, and with all the resources that he has, these are the two movies he decided to make? The B Movie and the f***ing Poptarts movie? What the f***? Talking about resources, Jesus Christ, it's like every actor in the world is in this. Hugh Grant is playing Tony the Tiger.
Just great.
Amy Schumer is the CEO of Post, the enemy of Kellogg's in this movie. Peter Dinklage is the leader of a milkmen syndicate. I like Bill Burr as JFK though. That's fun. I think he's pretty fun.
I'm kind of in the doghouse since you-know-who sang happy birthday to me.
Dean Norris, aka Hank from Breaking Bad, is playing Khrushchev in this. What the f***? So this film is set in a weird cartoony world, not too dissimilar from Barbie, where everything in this town is weird and whimsical, and it's about cereal all the time. Everything in this movie looks like it was filmed in a box with no air. It feels like everyone's trying to suffocate for air, trying to breathe. About 20 minutes into this film, we find out that it actually has a pretty interesting premise. The point of this film is to showcase the race that Post and Kellogg's had to make a Pop-Tarts-esque product in a similar fashion as the space race between the Soviet Union and America.
Brave men you see before you have been through an unprecedented series of evaluations. Each is at the top of their field. Inventive, visionary, fearless.
That's a good premise. I genuinely think that's really, really fun. If that was what they only did, that would have been a better movie. But no, it's almost as if in the writing process of this, the people who wrote this, which isn't just Jerry Seinfeld, it's like Jerry Seinfeld and like 3 or 4 other guys, they just kept getting distracted all the time. Instead of just focusing on this one good premise, we get so much other stuff. More than a plot moving forward, what we get in every scene is a weird character that gets introduced. There's this cast of Googas and weirdos. Every scene is like, whoa, check this freak out. Jerry Seinfeld finds out about the idea of Pop-Tarts from a bunch of garbage kids. Then they do a meeting and there's like the 5 cereal families, like they're all mobsters. What happened to the space race thing? There's a ventriloquist guy. It's Buster from Arrested Development. Every scene, weird character. There's a ravioli that turned into a conscious monster because he was made with sea monkeys, for Christ's sake. There's a whole segment where they're talking about eye astigmatism for some reason.
I like these. I have astigmatism. What is that? Well, it's a mismatch of the focusing elements in the eye.
Jerry Seinfeld keeps hitting us with these corpse-like line deliveries all the time, and I don't get how this is happening.
There's nothing left!
Wait, over there, what's that?
I watched the Seinfeld show. That's not how he used to talk about. What's going on? This movie's lowest point, though, is not all of these things that I just mentioned. Remember how Hugh Grant is Tony the Tiger? I mean, how can you forget? That is an iconic role. He starts forming a union of other mascots. These mascot characters are portrayed as villains in this movie. Sort of. It's hard to really call them that because nothing in this movie is taken seriously to any extent. But they're sort of villains in this. I mean, so much so that at some point they reenact January 6th, where the mascots are the perpetrators.
I'll never let you go! We belong together!
My jaw was on the floor when I saw this. In the Poptarts movie, they're recreating Jan 6. In the Poptarts? Jerry Seinfeld, you recreated Jan 6 in the Poptarts movie? What the fuck? This is so totally out of pocket. And then to finish this off, instead of leaving the whole space story as the one decent thing here, Jerry Seinfeld and the 15 other people who wrote this movie decided that actually they shouldn't do that. And instead just really hammer in this one thing that I liked.
We got to the moon. The breakfast moon.
Get it? It's the moon. It's the breakfast moon. Do you get what we were doing here? Or was this shot of a Pop-Tart flying into space not obvious enough for you? Are you happy that we spelled it out? You fucking idiot audience members? What I like about Barbie compared to this is when all the craziness unfolds in that movie, it's all taken completely seriously. When you do that, the impact of a scene is much larger. The comedy works a lot better when all the stakes are there. And also the movie turns out more interesting when there's actual real stakes. You don't have any care for any character in the Pop-Tart movie because they simply do not exist. They're ghouls. They're ghosts that are there to either do another bit of bad improv or introduce another freakish little character, like a fart with a heart of gold, or a sock with a penis. This movie is a true companion piece to the 2003 Cat in the Hat movie. Just two instances where two really famous comedians got to make a film with essentially zero restraint, and maybe there should have been some. The only difference is that I kind of like Cat in the Hat, mainly because I just watched it as a kid. Which kid are you making this for? With your January 6th parody. 3.4 out of 10.